Slide up to the snack bar. Grab a beverage and maybe something to eat, and watch another movie with Rob and Zeke. Slide up to the snack bar. Just pours it in the apple and it's killing Snow White.
Here, have a bite.
Slide up to the snack bar. Season's greetings and welcome once again to Cinema Snack Bar. I'm Rob Alley.
And I'm Zeke Tucker.
And we're here to talk about the movies you love and the foods that made them memorable. Today we're taking our first look at an AFI Top 100 film chosen at random. I just generated a bunch of numbers. This was the first one that came up. It happens to be Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
And we are snacking on the heart of a pig. I'm just kidding. Homemade candy apples, actually. So we'll take you through the recipe and we'll try them out in the second part of the show. Zeke, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I am so happy that this is our first. This is our first Disney official film, and I am just about it. We are massive Disney fans in the Tucker household, and it is a great way to start it out.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty actually fortuitous. You know, a lot of the like AFI Top 100 films are movies that we have never seen, movies that like I would go, I don't even care to see that, you know.
I'm glad this is the first one that popped up.
Yeah, it was like a soft place to land.
Yeah.
And I promise it's totally random. I wasn't like, oh, there's Disney movies on this list, let's do that. Totally chosen at random. And so it just worked out that it's like one of the greatest animated films of all time.
Yes.
And a beloved thing. And we've got, if you're watching on video, by the way, if you don't know, you can watch this on video on Spotify and on YouTube. You can find us there. And if you want to watch on video, you can do that as well.
Wait, there's video on Spotify?
Yeah.
I'm Apple Music all the way, so this is a new thing for me.
Yes.
Okay.
The host that we use allows us to, they're owned by Spotify. So they allow video podcasting on Spotify if you use that host. Yeah.
That's awesome.
How about that? Spotify's they're really coming for the podcast game. They
really are.
They're really trying to take it over. So, all right, first things first, let's get into the movie. Let's talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937.
That's crazy.
This is pre-Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
which was the first color live-action film. And so before that, I hadn't thought about it, but I guess you could have color animated before they had color.
Yeah, I did not think about that.
It's a kind of a weird thing, but yeah, so this is 1937. This is when talking movies were still fairly new at this point. And you can really tell it's from that era because everybody has that certain way of speaking that I can't really impersonate, but it's like the way that they sing and the way that they speak is so very, it's like, and there's a certain name for that accent. I learned that like, you grow up thinking that's just the way people sort of talked in that time, and that was the American accent.
Is it transatlantic?
It's a transatlantic accent.
Yes.
But it was taught. It was learned. They taught like broadcasting professionals and stuff like that to speak that way, stage actors. But that's the record that we have of a great many things, sports broadcasts and all that stuff around that time. You have a lot of people talking like I can't even do it. I don't know.
Either. I'm not going to try. I'm definitely not going to not rehearse that and then do it in a microphone. That's not something I'm going to do.
It's not like a British affectation. It's just, I don't know. It's its own thing. And it just sounds like old timey voice now.
Right.
But so that's what it was. The transatlantic, right? Yeah. Transatlantic, not
transatlantic.
mid-Atlantic. Okay. Yeah. All right. Plot summary of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. A young woman proves her worth and usefulness to a bunch of men by cooking and doing all the chores that they hadn't bothered to do. In doing so, she enslaves an animal army, exploiting their free labor for her own ends. If you want to go with the IMDb version says, exiled into the dangerous forest by her wicked stepmother, a princess is rescued by 7 dwarf miners who make her part of their household. That might be a little more palatable.
Yeah, maybe
and that would be dwarf miners, people who work in a mine. I repeat,
not miners,
not dwarf.
However, she was a miner by quite a few years, so that would have actually been less creepy.
What do we have an indication of her age?
14. She is the youngest Disney princess. She is 14 years old. Whitney and I were talking about this last night. Yeah, she is 14. I know Rob's face is not happy about that. Okay, she is 14 in this. That it is like a declaration. Like we're not guessing she's 14. It is in the movie she is 14 years old is what Walt Disney said. So she's the youngest Disney princess that has ever been recorded.
Okay.
So we were thinking, what is the least creepy age that the prince could be to kiss this 14-year-old girl? And we said 17 is the cutoff.
That's what first thing I thought, 17. Cutoff.
So if he is not a 17-year-old prince, then the whole movie is different for me.
And let me just tell you, he's not 17.
He looks a good 24.
I'm like, he could be 30. he could be, I mean, he's got the voice. I can't. Yeah. I'm really struggling with voices so far today. We'll see how this goes. But he's got that, like, I mean, the way he carries himself, the way he's at least 27 in my mind.
So he is nearly double her age is what we are assuming.
And you really can't tell because the animation, there's no lines on it.
No one has lines on it. Not even until you become a witch, you get 0 wrinkles. Yes. That's the Disney thing. Wrinkles equal evil witch.
Yeah, that's true. Man, she's 14. That is troublesome. I don't like that at all.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 10.
Okay,
about
so
to be
4
11.
years, and she's able to play this role.
I just don't.
She's got the complexion.
I don't like it. I do not like it at all. Okay, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first feature-length animated movie to be created using cell animation.
Oh, I love it.
And it is also the first full-length Disney film. The first full-length animated movie, period, was called El Apostol, The Apostle, in 1917, 20 full years before this, by an Argentinian animator named Quirino Cristiani. It used stop-motion animation and paper cutouts to accomplish
I want
the
to see that. However,
you can't.
You can't.
The master got burned up in a fire.
Oh, I hate that.
But cell animation is different from that in that it's done using transparent animation cells layered over the top of each other, hand painted.
This was one of my design notes. It's one of my favorite things.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. It got so you have a larger, like, pre-painted background set that everything kind of happens over. And so instead of having physical sets like for a live action movie, you just have these pre-painted sets. Here's the castle set. And it's, and you do your animation over that. And then you
basically have a clear screen over that in which you draw the characters. And it makes it where you don't have to redraw the entire background with every cell.
Yeah.
So you have that background, and on top of it, you have that, as if I understand this correctly, you have the basically glass or clear translucent screen, and you draw on that. So that's what the animators would do. So they don't have to redraw the background every time. Mm-hmm. This was used in a ton of Disney movies. I have the last one. Last time it was used was 2011 with Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the last time it was used in Disney was 2011. My favorite way, I don't think it's cell animation, but my favorite movie, which I know we'll do because I will press it or quit the podcast if we don't. My favorite movie, Lilo and Stitch, was done kind of like this. It wasn't cell animation, but they had static watercolor backgrounds, which had not been used since, I think, 1940 something with Dumbo. But it was kind of the same thing where you have the entire background and then you draw on basically glass or clear panels on top of it. And that reduces the time that it takes to do the background.
Right. They introduced, as quickly as they could, they introduced digital elements and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think the last like full length movie that they did that was like a major release was even earlier than that. It was 1992 with Little Mermaid.
Right.
But that was the last like big, huge Disney movie that was done totally out of cell animation.
The last, and I think Winnie the Pooh just had some aspects of it. Okay. Like it wasn't full. They didn't do that. And it might not have been a full release. I don't know. I'm sorry. I did not research that deeply, but that's what I saw. The last full one was Little Mermaid.
And one of the crazy things, I watched a little, kind of behind the scenes from Disney on the process, and it was from like a long time ago, when they were still doing it. And it's like, it was a much crazier process than even it sounds. It sounds like, okay, you have a background and you put a clear thing and you paint over it and then you do the next frame and there's 24 frames a second and blah, 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 which sounds complicated enough.
Oh man.
But it was like, they're using electric charges to imprint the drawings onto the cells.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
They're using Xerox machines and dark rooms for every single
This is in
frame.
the 1930s.
This is in the 1930s. I mean, it's really a process that I can't fully explain, but it's worth looking up like on YouTube or whatever. And you also you think, okay, they're animating, not the backgrounds, but the characters frame by frame. But even that, if they've got a shot where like somebody's just talking, but their body's not moving, they'll leave the body part and then only animate the head for however many frames. So you'll have a layer that's like just neck down, and then a layer that's just the head that they can just animate the head. So it's like
it saved them work, but you have to, the thought process behind it is just insane to me.
And they have all kinds of like checkers and helpers at every step of the process. And there's like a final person who gives the okay, you know, that goes, yes, we've got all the layers that we need and everything, like down to every, I mean, if you've got a thing where, you know, if Mickey Mouse points at somebody and wags his finger, you don't need to animate his whole body. Right. They'll have a layer that's just his finger. So
these were just some fed up animators. They're like, we are going to, you can't keep doing this, Walt Disney. We are going to do anything possible that we do not have to keep animating every aspect of this character.
Yeah. So who knows how long it would have taken if they had to literally draw because you got to draw and paint everything that's in a cell, 24 cells per second. So like, that's just insane to think about. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is one of the first films to be selected by the Library of Congress for preservation as part of the National Film Registry.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it was one of the first.
That's a crazy thing to do.
I think there was a crop of 25, but it is a landmark animated film and just kind of a landmark in film, you know, in general. Adjusted for inflation, if my research is correct.
This was one of mine.
This is wild. Why don't you say it?
Ingested for inflation. Adjusted for inflation. Now I can't find where it is. Go ahead.
Okay. Adjusted for inflation, it is still the highest grossing animated film of all time.
That's crazy.
At least in North America. My research was a little unclear if it was for North America or worldwide, but you're talking Frozen, you're talking whatever, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all the greats. I guess if you're the
first feature-length film, animated feature-length film, I mean, you have a leg up, but still, that is crazy that still to this day.
Yeah. That's just
based on inflation. It's the most the highest grossing.
Yes. And it is also something I had never thought about before, but the title of this movie is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with an F.
This is one of my favorite. Yeah.
And I had just never really thought about that before. So I did a little research on why, and I learned that basically the term dwarf, it's dwarfs if you were talking about actual people with the condition called dwarfism, but J.R.R. Tolkien he didn't invent the term dwarves, but he started using the term dwarves with a V in his like fantasy novels and popularized the usage of that term for fantasy characters. And so now, kind of from then on, but this is before that, but now it's sort of, if you see dwarves like fictional creatures that are like small and they're called dwarves, it's with a V. And if it's people who have the condition called dwarfism, which I don't even know. I don't think you call them. Maybe I don't know if it's.
I don't know what the proper term is.
It's little people, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But I think if there's the actual condition of dwarfism present, it is at least medically okay, maybe to use the F. I don't know.
Our producer is checking on this.
Yes, producer Whitney will let us know when she finds. So I thought that had literally never crossed my mind, and I would have told you. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, dwarves. I would have said dwarves, whether I thought about what the movie was called or not.
Absolutely.
But I think when I actually titled my notes, I typed out dwarfs. But I would have said dwarves.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%.
They had some weird names too. Like there were some odd names that were proposed. And I want to read through these because they are absolutely ridiculous. And I'm so happy they went with the ones they went with. Some of the other titles were awful. One of the dwarfs would have been named Awful, and he would have been a drunkard. Is what I read.
Oh wow! Okay.
Biggie Wiggy.
What?
Big O Ego.
Oh no!
I'm guessing he's going to be. Just have a big old ego.
Yeah, I was going to say you got a big old ego.
Big old ego.
Ew.
Blabby.
Ew.
Deafy, who I'm assuming is deaf.
No.
That just Walt Disney. Come on. Dirty. Gabby. Gaspy. Gloomy. Gloomy could have worked. Gloomy could have worked. Hoppy Jumpy.
Like that's one name?
Hoppy Jumpy is one name. I don't understand. Jumpy. Like that's enough of that's enough of a personality that you just jump a lot. Like that would have been your whole thing. Hotsy, Jaunty, Nifty, and Shifty. Sneezy was a last minute replacement for Deafy. Deafy was in the last, like you got down to it and you're like, I don't know if we should have Sneezy or the deaf guy.
Ew.
And I don't understand why that was one of the finals, but it was. And Walt Disney apparently got dopey into the finals by convincing most of the Imagineers, the animators at that time. They were like, we don't want dopey. That doesn't sound like proper to the time. He was like, that doesn't make sense. And he lied to them and said, oh, well, he used, I think it's dopey. Dopey. He was like, oh, well, William Shakespeare uses it in a play. It is found in none of his plays. But he convinced all of the animators and I don't know if they were Imagineers by that point, but he convinced all of the animators that it was in there, though it's not in there at all. Dang. Just so he could have it in his movie.
So much harder to research something to tell if it's true or not.
Absolutely.
At that point.
They're like, I guess we'll take your word. It's 1937. What are we going to do? Search Google?
You're the boss. Exactly.
Okay. There's Producer Whitney has the proper term.
The correct term is little person or person of short stature.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah. That seems like a lot. I guess that's medically. And if you're like writing a paper, there's a person of short stature.
Yeah. Person of short stature. Okay. There we go.
That's good.
Let's see. All right. I'm just going to roll down a few thoughts on the movie and you chime in with yours as we go. My very first thought, like the second the movie started, I went, wow, this was all the way in on the intro right away.
Oh,
like it literally starts out like a Looney Tunes cartoon with a, you know what I mean? There's no, like now you have movies that'll ease into an intro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll like fade in from a black thing slowly and maybe, Disney Animation presents and it's like a little bit and it'll swell into a thing. This just goes, like castle.
He
and,
wanted his first, he's like, my first full length feature animated film is going to blow them out of the water from the first second.
Yeah.
He just wanted to go straight for it.
It was just everything, which is weird. And then there's a note from Walt Disney at the very beginning, which is kind of cool. It says, my sincere appreciation to the members of my staff whose loyalty and creative endeavor made possible this production. So
that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. The opening scene with the stepmother is so dark. Like it's so not like emotionally dark. Like it's and some of this, I was thinking some of the scary sequences in this movie are creepier or as creepy anyway than anything you'd see now. Like,
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. One of the ride at, I've not ridden the ride at Disneyland. I have ridden the ride in Disneyland Paris. I think it's the same as Disneyland, maybe a few different tweaks, but it is one of the scarier, just static old rides. Like it's one of the older rides you just ride through, but it is terrifying because all they're doing is telling the story of Snow White. So it's just so scary. Apparently when it first came out, it premiered in Radio City Music Hall, and they had to reupholster the seats because it was a kids movie. Okay, it was like seen as a kids movie. So kids came. Yes, this is the thing I did not tell you. She's like she's got her hand over her mouth. The seats had to be reupholstered in Radio City Music Hall because so many kids wet themselves. Is that not incredible? Like they wet themselves to the degree that they had to reupholster most of the seats in the theater.
That is absolutely insane.
Every showing, like they didn't have to reupholster it every showing. They had to with every big showing, they had to reupholster the seats.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think they would have learned and just put plastic on the seats.
Yeah, just plastic the seats. But
then you would have just had pee running down the floor.
Then you just have to mop between
carpet or aisles.
Reupholster the seat. I mean, it's bad either way, but these kids were wetting themselves because of the queen.
Dang.
The queen witch.
The quitch? Please do not ever use that word again.
It's not ween. I'm not going to use that one. The quitch. She made them wet themselves.
Wow. That is really just something. But I guess it goes to show you what kids were ingesting then as far as media versus
this is the scariest thing they'd probably seen.
Yeah, and it's huge and loud.
Yeah,
and
some of the music sequences. Like I think I read that Walt Disney, they were like, "Hey, maybe tone it down when she's running through the forest, being attacked by fake trees." Yeah, but he was like, "Nope. Not going to do it. Let's just keep it."
I mean, it really is frightening the imagery and the sort of disorientation of that scene.
It's more intense than I remember. It was a good deal more intense because I hadn't seen it in probably like a decade, maybe more. And I was like, oh, he really came out of the gate just going, a little fear will do him good.
Yeah, and they they took some stuff out. Like there's a whole list of differences. I don't know if you looked any of this up.
I didn't look at that.
Between like the movie version and the Grimm fairy tales, there's obviously one of those things and we know, everybody knows stuff that's based off Grimm's fairy tales. There's a lot of stuff. There's, ravens plucking people's eyes out and stuff, stuff like that. But I did find a cool list, and I love a good list of differences between the book and the movies. I'll run down a few of those real quick. The book has a little bit more backstory on Snow White's mother. Okay. And it shows that I don't think she died in childbirth, but she pricks her finger on a needle and she wishes for a beautiful daughter, and then she dies in childbirth.
Oh, wow.
So you find out, okay, that's how the stepmother enters the picture to begin with, is the mom died in childbirth.
Right. They give no backstory of the father of that. You just assume this man made a bad mistake.
Right. Yeah.
Married a quitch, and now he's still going.
Yeah. Then in the book version, so the queen tells the huntsman to go find Snow White, snuff her out, and bring me back her heart. She gives a box and put her heart in this box.
That's in the book,
and that's also in the book. Okay. But in the book, her plan is to eat her heart.
Oh,
so when he comes back with the heart and the lungs and the liver of a boar, and she eats them both.
I like that. Kind of like that they kept that out.
There's
like this weird line between actual witchcraft and kids like Disney witchcraft, and the eating a heart. I go, yeah, that's probably edging on to the actual witchcraft.
Yeah, that's right. That's into ye old magic with a CK on the end. The queen tries several different ways in the book instead of just the apple to kill her. She tries 3 different times to kill her. And then when she does get to the poisoned apple, it's a thing where she's only poisoned half of it. And this is smart. I feel like they could have done this. So that when Snow White is a little reticent to take the apple, she actually bites it first. And she's like, here, see, it's fine. And she bites her and then hands her the poison half. I don't know if she cuts it but if it's so it's a half poisoned apple. And I read a thing about basically why did the queen choose that disguise?
Right.
As somebody who immediately you look at and go, I don't think I trust you.
No, I'm not going to trust an old hag that gives me fruit.
Yeah. Why didn't she disguise herself like a handsome prince?
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm like, right? Like, obviously, so anyway. And then in the book, apparently she is dead or asleep, whatever, for a year before the prince gets to her. Whereas in the movie, I think it's 3 days or something. Like she's.
I need a 1 year nap from time to time. You know what I mean?
Yes. And and in the book, she doesn't revive from true love's first kiss. She revives when the prince comes along and basically says, "We got to bury this girl, you guys." And so he's picking her up to take her off so that she can have a proper burial. And the apple dislodges from her throat, and she wakes up when the apple comes out. It has nothing to do with the kiss of the prince at all.
Well, that's nice. I mean, how do you animate a girl, throwing up part of an apple? But I mean, you also animated a 14-year-old getting a kiss from probably a 27-year-old. So I don't know what's worse. Oh. There is a popular fan theory, which I understand it. The end scene where they're going off to I don't know if they're riding off into the sunset for the castle, but the castle is in the clouds, and it's got that heaven-esque kind of feeling. Okay. So there's a popular theory from Disney fans that the skeleton scene being mocked by the queen downstairs, she's like, "Oh, do you want a drink of water?" And she kicks the thing up, is the prince. So they have a theory that she wanted the prince. Okay. So she's a beautiful queen. She's like, I want this prince. He denies her for a 14-year-old girl. I mean, might as well kill him. But so there's a fan theory that is the prince in her dungeon. She's killed him. Okay. They also believe that Snow White actually died in that final scene of Snow White and Prince going off into the sunset, because that castle is in the clouds. Yeah. Is them finally meeting when they die.
Weird.
Yes. I mean, it's not it's not the best fan theory. There's some great Disney fan theories, but I go, okay, I could see that. I could see that all the things came together. And that, I mean, that queen was willing to kill a 14-year-old so she could be prettier than her. Right. So I assume that she wouldn't have no qualms killing a love-struck prince.
Man, so when does that occur in the movie? Like, because we see the prince alive, does it occur after that?
It occurs after. So you see the prince at the very beginning, and then not again until he's kissing a minor.
Yeah.
So you see him. I really love this movie. I'm gonna assume he's 17. He's just an older looking 17-year-old. So he is. You only see him at the beginning and the very end. Okay. So that's the only time you see him. So. And the last time you see him is at the castle with the queen.
Yeah.
Right before she tries to kill the little girl. So she's trying to kill Snow White. So she is on a death rampage. And then you see right after she does the poison apple, you see the skeleton like reaching for a drink of water.
But but then you see the prince alive after that.
Later in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, they just assume that the thing is this is her
so
being taken up.
She's dreaming that this happened, essentially, that the wake up of the prince, right? And she wakes up, she's dead.
And she's like, but they're both dead.
Okay. I'm following.
I know. Okay, what do you think, Whitney? Because you're not liking it.
I just don't like it.
Okay. Whitney likes to keep with it. She likes to keep with the original.
Yeah, I don't think it was that layered in 1937. I don't think they were that's a twist that not only audiences would not have gotten at that point, but I don't think writers and directors and producers were thinking that way yet.
The only reason is design-wise, when they're going to the castle in the end, looks a little bit different, and it's literally in the clouds. It's got that heaven-esque feel where it's like peachy orange clouds and it's surrounding the castle.
But it's just trying to represent how good it is.
Right. Yeah. It's great. It's a happily ever after. Now she can be with her 27-year-old father figure.
Ew. She's like, now I have a boyfriend and a dad.
That's that. I can be your father. I can be your father figure.
George Michael. Yeah. Thank you. Gross.
I was going to say it from New Girl. That's the only reason I knew what the song was, when Winston is on a date.
I think that might be one of the only reasons I know it. Other than listening to B97.5 with my mom in Knoxville when we were, she was like, oh, I love it. Soft rock.
Soft rock. Ours was Light Mix 105.
Oh, that's nice.
It's now Hard Rock 105. But,
okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I really want to know, as a culture, where we got to Mirror Mirror from Magic Mirror.
Yeah.
Because Mirror Mirror never happens in this movie. Every time she speaks to the mirror, she says Magic Mirror.
Oh, man.
Not one time does she say.
I think I still just imagined it was Mirror Mirror.
And somehow that's where we've gotten, even to the point where, like, later on, so, they've made book versions of it, like Disney book versions of this, story books.
Does it say Mirror Mirror?
And originally, like in the first version in the 40s that they made, it said Magic Mirror. But by the 70s, they had switched merchandise and books to say Mirror Mirror.
All right.
It's one of those, like, Mandela effect things, I think, where people think it's Mirror Mirror, but it's not. And so I thought maybe she consults the mirror several times in the movie, and one time she says Mirror Mirror, and that's the one that stuck. But never. Every time it's Magic Mirror. So I don't know.
I wonder if there was like a bad connotation with magic. Is it one of those moments? Well, it can't be. I mean, Disney is built on the fact that it's a magic place, most magical place on earth. But I don't know why that would have been one you changed.
I'm going to consult my talking mirror, do what it says, but not imply that it's magical.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to follow its advice.
This weird demon in my glass reflection. I'm going to try to figure it out.
Yeah. Let's see. I do love, we talked about this, the sound of their voices, but just the audio from that time is so different too. Yeah. Everything is so warm, and it's like a little overloaded, if that makes sense. It's like clips a little bit, but it just has that warm, nostalgic feeling.
Yeah, when you watch this and it just does all the things that you want it to do. You go, maybe it's not the greatest film I've ever seen, but it's one of those things where you watch it and it immediately puts you in that kind of mode, in that mood. Like you could put it on in the background and just let it fly. And I don't know. It's one of those clean my house movies for me where I'm like, I want to feel really good. I want to feel like I'm a man in the 40s. That's what this would do.
You wouldn't have been cleaning your house.
You're right. But I enjoy some chores.
I thought it was pretty interesting watching it as an adult. Some of the stuff, we talked about some of the scary stuff they showed, but I thought it was interesting some of the stuff that they didn't show on screen. So like the pig's heart,
I thought about that.
We don't see, right? And Snow White actually biting the apple, we don't see. We see her bring it to her mouth, and then it cuts to the quitch, and so the whole thing of whatever happens to her after she bites the apple, the next thing you see is just her hand as she passes out.
Soft little hand.
Yeah, rolling the apple, but you don't see.
I did think that was odd. I guess they don't want to see. Death was probably maybe a little too, and death is implied with her eating that apple.
Yeah.
I guess it was a little too intense for a kid's movie, because when the Quitch was, spoiler alert, when the Quitch was dying, I just went, is this her death? Like, I was looking at Whitney, I was like, I don't remember this. And it's because there's this thing when I look back at movies or shows I watched when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that person dies, and I just didn't even fathom it. That might have been the thing, but I just thought, I don't know. I feel like everything is right in your face now, so it takes me off guard when they don't show an important part like that.
Yeah, because they also didn't show the queen getting crushed by a boulder. Right. That's a little more understandable, because that would have been just too gross, to see. But I don't really understand why they didn't show Snow White like passing out. I can maybe see them not showing the heart. I get that could be a little gross, even though it's an animal's heart, but because they would have had to made it look like a real one. They couldn't have. They're going for kind of a level of realism, even though it's about dwarves and magic mirrors.
Right, there's some realism.
Visually, they're going for kind of realism, so they couldn't have done like a, the
like
heart that you just draw.
Heart, little icon.
Little boom, 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 boom. Yeah, couldn't have done that. Okay, I have a question. Are the dwarves' instruments carved from wood to look like animals, or are they made from petrified animals?
This was. Do you think that's like the witch has done this and she's like, you're going to play animals for the rest of your life? She hates those dwarves. I thought they were just carved. I don't know who the woodworker is out of the dwarfs, but I saw one of the things, like every stair step in their house is an owl's face.
Whoa.
Yes, every step is like, so I don't know, like if the animators were like, we're really going to show out. We only have to draw this once. Right. It's in the background. So let's go all out on it. But I saw that every instrument was some kind of bird.
Yeah.
Like I was like, look, it's a duck. She goes, that is, or something. Whitney was like, that's a guitar of some kind. I was like, no, I mean, it looks like a duck.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a duck. I hope it's not petrified animals.
Surely it's
just, there's a woodworker amongst them.
Yeah, I think so. One of them.
Who is it? Do you think it's Grumpy? And he's so mad that they made him do all the work. Right. He's like, I built this whole freaking house and I just get to eat with you all idiot dwarves. Yep.
He's like, I used to be, and then one of the other names that got rejected. Right. Like they used to call me whatever, but now they used to just call me Deffy, but now I'm
Deffy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Favorite quotes. I just have one.
It's not that, surprisingly, it's not the most quotable movie.
Not super quotable.
No, I only have 2 quotes.
Other than Magic Mirror on the Wall, right? But which we get wrong.
Which is one of my 2 quotes.
Yeah. But my favorite quote actually did come from Grumpy.
Me too. I hope we got the same one.
She's a female.
Got it. That's it.
And all females is cursed. They're full of wicked wiles. And then one of the other, who's it? One of the other dwarfs
I don't remember which one it was.
What are wicked wiles? And he goes, I don't know, but I'm again them.
I'm again them. He just sounds like an old, what is it called?
Like a prospector.
Like an prospector. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to find that gold if it's the last thing I ever do.
Exactly. Yeah. She's a female, and all females is poison. They're full of wicked wiles. That's the only other one I wrote down.
Oh, he says poison?
Oh, well, that's what it says. That's what it said on IMDb.
Okay, I was just pulling it from the movie, and I thought he said cursed. Could be.
I really don't know. We watched it, and I was like, that's hilarious. And then I just copy and pasted from IMDb because I was like, that is absolutely hilarious.
It could easily be one of those things where he says cursed with an accent, like coist. You know what I mean? All females is coist. And
they're like, there's an oi. That's
and poison. Like, right. That's what it is actually poison. And I heard cursed with an accent, which I tend to do sometimes. Like, I tend to misinterpret things that way. Right. I don't know. We'll have to go back. You guys, if you're planning on watching the movie with our commentary in mind this week,
please tell me if it's cursed or poison.
Cursed or poison. Either way, full of wicked wiles, just overflowing with wicked wiles.
I have 2 facts that just blew my mind about this.
Okay.
Snow White never, ever interacts with the prince until the kiss. She, and even after the kiss, she has never, in the whole movie, she does not talk to him. She doesn't say a single word to the prince because he introduces himself with a boisterous song at the beginning and she runs away.
Yeah.
Okay, she is completely gone. They kiss, and then she's like, "Yay!" And she gets on a horse.
Directly after wishing for him.
Yeah.
Which is just, I understand it.
Whitney found
that
hilarious. Yeah. So yes, there is not a single interaction outside of him singing at her and then kissing her. So that is the full interaction before with them before they run off into the sunset together.
So we don't really even know if she likes the guy.
We don't, but apparently it was true love. That's all it took.
She's grateful. That's true. I guess it's love's kiss.
I don't know. I would be I'd be a little in love if someone saved my life.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
At least, what is it? Not Florence Nightingale syndrome. What's it called? Florence Nightingale's the mother from the Brady Bunch, right?
Yeah. I don't check it for us.
Or is that Florence Henderson? Yes. Okay.
Who is Florence Nightingale?
Like a old, I don't know.
I'm going.
Okay.
I'm searching it.
It doesn't. It really doesn't matter.
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm.
No, that's the
But there's a thing where like
Beast one.
Stockholm syndrome is where people hate you and you love them. The Nightingale syndrome, is it not Florence Nightingale? I think I'm right about this.
She was a social reformer, statistician.
It's where you you fall in love with a caretaker, right?
She's the founder of modern nursing, so that makes sense.
Yeah, she was a nurse. Yes, okay, it's Florence Nightingale. I was right the whole time.
Good job,
Over
Florence Henderson.
Gaslighting myself.
That's when a caregiver falls in love with their patient.
Oh, okay. That's kind of the opposite.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
like
okay, but you were going in the right direction.
Inverted Nightingale syndrome. Okay. All right, fine. Okay, producer Whitney, you said you wanted to talk about the forest scene. Tell us your thoughts.
I just felt it so deeply because, like, if you've heard the term catastrophize, have you ever heard that term?
Which I told her that's not a word.
It is
we
a
looked
real
it up.
term.
It's a word,
it's
and
like
I
counseling
ate crow.
term.
Okay.
So, like, if you are trying to think of something in the future, you just make it. You snowball into this horrible thing that could be.
Yeah.
That is what that scene is in the forest.
You're talking about her running through the forest.
Yes, where everything looks like something terrifying.
Yeah.
I felt it.
And really, it's just trees.
She wakes up and it's all fluffy animals. And again, I felt that too. I loved it.
I think this is the last thing that I have is like the facts about the movie.
Yeah.
But it feels weird. Okay, so it's a great movie. It's fantastic. It is one of Adolf Hitler's favorite 3 films.
I mean, it's you can't hold it against him.
No, you can hold it against him. You can't hold it against the movie.
I mean, what's not to love? Why wouldn't he love Snow White?
It's German. It's set in Germany. She is pale. She's there. I'm talking about like
she's quite Aryan.
She's German.
Yeah, she's Aryan. Yes. There's a lot of Aryan people in this. He probably loved the death. So not great, but I just go, it's one of his 3 favorites, along with King Kong and Sun Valley Serenade.
I don't know what that is.
I don't either, but I know what King Kong is. And I'm just like, that seems like an odd choice for Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to be that monster. That's
This and King Kong is what made him. So I don't know. That's terrible. Okay, it made me not like, I can't hold it against the movie. Some bad people. Some terribly, terribly bad people, and he's the worst of them. They're going to like the movies you like.
If you know, there's all sorts of like alternate reality movies or shows, TV shows and stuff where like, what if Hitler had lived, right? What if Hitler had survived somehow the war? He was in a bunker, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't really Hitler that died. If Hitler was still alive right now, what would his 3 favorite movies be?
Oh, no. Oh, he's just covering her mouth.
Let's assume Snow White is still one of them.
Yeah, let's just keep it there so we only have to make 2.
Maybe the new King Kong movies.
Right, yeah. Kong versus Godzilla. He's like, they just took it to another place.
Right.
Like,
he's like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I want to think that he'd have a little like funny bone. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit.
I was thinking Hot Tub Time Machine. I don't know why. But
Hot Tub. I'm thinking Jojo Rabbit. Is it Jojo Rabbit?
That's it,
which I haven't
Hitler.
seen, and I have to see. They just make fun of Hitler.
You know for a fact it's definitely not Schindler's List.
Oh, no, it's not.
Wow.
It's not. And it's not Inglourious Bastards either.
Right.
I apologize. I mean, it's a title of a movie. I have to say it. But I guess it's not that either.
Yeah. But you're saying he would like maybe have something that's about himself. So it's vanity and comomedy at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he'd like it.
Okay. All right. I can see that. We'll never know.
Right.
So
isn't Taika.
Yeah.
Isn't he Jewish?
I have no idea.
I thought he was. Please check
Producer
that.
Whitney,
because there was like his whole point of that movie is that it was a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Is that Hitler was played by someone who is obviously of color. and I thought he was Jewish. If not, I made that up because it was more redeeming for the movie. But he was like, I just thought it was awesome that Hitler was played by. He played it, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And he wrote. Did he write that movie?
I think he wrote it. Yeah.
I should have researched.
I think
any of this.
wrote, directed, and starred.
His mother's family were Russian Jews.
Okay.
Oh man,
just
just a slap in the face. I have got to see that movie.
Yeah, we definitely need to cover that one for sure.
He describes himself as a Polynesian Jew.
There you go.
Man, he's just like, come on, slap him in the face. Oh, that's awesome.
All right, I think it's time to get into the recast.
I'm so excited.
Slide up to the snack bar.
I am so confident in this recast. I feel like you and I are gonna have some of the same.
Really?
I really think we're gonna have some of the same.
I don't.
You don't think so?
I don't. No.
Okay, so first off, I was texting Rob about this, and I was like, "Are we recasting like the first one? Surely we're not recasting the dwarfs." And he was like, "Oh, absolutely, every single one of them." So I had to. Now mine is a easier thing for that, but I recast all the dwarfs. And
did you say One Direction? Just like.
One Direction.
They're all, just like BTS. All the One Direction. Yeah, One Direction and BTS with a few leftover guys. I
have one person.
Voices.
I have one. Do you want to? Okay, how do you want to do it?
Let's just bounce it back and forth. First of all, I didn't realize y'all probably know this because y'all are knee deep in Disney, but like, I didn't realize that they're working on a live action Snow White.
No, I
remake.
did not know that.
Okay.
I know there's several other ones like Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah,
and
sure.
things which I enjoyed. You know, it's like to me, it's one of the best things. Kristen Kristen Stewart did because she has that face that makes me want to die. But it's one of her best things for me because I'm like, it's fine. But you put Charlize Theron in anything, and I will watch it.
Yeah, she was a great queen. Yeah,
she was. That was one of my hardest things is because when I was recasting, I was like, Charlize Theron. I was like, you can't do that. You can't recast with another movie. So I did a different queen.
But yeah, so it's coming out in 2024. Like it's in production.
I did not know that.
It's Gal Gadot. As the queen.
Oh my word.
Yes. And Rachel Zegler as
I don't know who that is.
I don't know her. Zegler, Rachel Zegler as Snow White. So our recast rules, the rules that we laid down for this one are we are recasting it as though it is a fresh animated version in the spirit of the original. It's not whatever, right? That's the direction you went, right? That's the way I went.
Yes. Okay, so this is cartoon. Yes, yeah. These are basically voice actors.
And obviously, yes, exactly. The roles that we're casting are going to be the voices of the new animated Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Sorry, I was researching Rachel Zegler, who made her debut in West Side Story.
Okay.
The recent West Side Story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do not know her, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so I kind of have a few notes on the original cast as we're going through. So why don't we just kind of go one character at a time, and we'll start. So we're going to start with Snow White. The original actress was named Adriana Caselotti. This movie kind of both made her career and also severely hampered her career, which is interesting.
I saw this.
Walt Disney was very protective of her voice after she appeared in the movie, and she was kind of, I don't know if her scale at the time made her underpaid or just that it sounds minuscule now, but she, wasn't paid a lot for the movie. But it also kept her from working because nobody would touch her because Disney was so protective. He wanted that to be the voice of Snow White and nothing else.
Like what an alpha move. I love Walt Disney. Like he's if you could eat dinner with any person, dead or alive, he's my pick. But I just go, what an alpha terrible move to be like, now I own your voice now. So you cannot work in this industry, which is basically what he did.
But also I'm not going to keep paying you for that voice.
Right. Like if he pay, it's like, okay, we'll pay my annual salary. Then I won't work a day for the rest of my life.
That's right.
That's good. But he was like, no, I just own this. I own your voice. So you can't sing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, and she's actually uncredited in the movie itself,
which is crazy.
Which is, I guess a lot of the voice actors were uncredited.
Right.
I don't know if that was just kind of how it worked at the time or whatever, but, and she is uncredited in the few other roles that she did play. She was a voice actress in The Wizard of Oz.
This poor girl.
And she had about 5 other film appearances other than this, but that was it.
Basically uncredited.
She had a hard time getting voice work because she was kind of untouchable as Disney's girl,
Thank goodness.
So, all right. So for the recast, I went with, this just kind of dawned on me. I would not have gotten there, I don't think, on my own.
I thought we were going to recast this. The only one did you recast the Magic Mirror?
I did. In my brain, I have it, but I don't have the name.
You don't have the.
I don't know the person's name.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, we might not have recast any the same. I thought I was like, we're gonna recast all of these the exact same. Okay, who's your Snow White?
Okay, my Snow White is Melissa Rauch. She is Bernadette from The Big Bang Theory. She's the blonde girl in The Big Bang Theory. Not like the lead, but the other, the dorky blonde girl in The Big Bang Theory.
I'm looking it up because I don't watch that.
And she has I think, the perfect voice to do that older style. Like she's got as close her voice, and she's putting it on a little bit in Big Bang Theory. It's not her natural voice, but
that's great.
The way she talks
Does
in
she sing?
Big Bang Theory, I'm assuming she sings. Okay. I'm making the assumption that she sings.
Okay.
If she doesn't, I have Camila Cabello as a backup.
For real?
Okay. Yes. That would be my backup Snow White.
Why would Camila Cabello be your?
I don't know. She's got I feel like she could do the voice, and she sings, and she kind of looks to me like a Snow White, a little bit. So she was my backup. But Melissa Rauch from Big Bang Theory is my number one.
Okay, well, this is so in all of our other recasts so far, I have tried to be like I'm a big fan of people of color. I love a little spice.
Yeah.
This is the whitest cast I could have ever done.
Right.
Okay. My Snow White is, which I just thought for sure Rob's going to do this too because it's perfect. Kristen Chenoweth.
For Snow White, okay.
Because she's got that little high, terrible voice.
Yeah.
And she can play. I feel like if I heard her voice, I go, that could be a 14-year-old
She could be 14,
in Germany in 1937. So Kristen Chenoweth that made sense to me.
I can see that.
Sense to me.
I can definitely see that.
I had one opinion. I only recast her because I was like, I'm not going to throw those people. But I thought Amy Adams
can't be bothered.
because of Enchanted.
Amy Adams.
She sounds like, she could do it.
She's fantastic. Yes. You get another princess, you're going to do okay.
Yeah. Okay. As the queen/evil stepmother, the original is Lucille Laverne, who had more than 3,000 performances on Broadway and touring stages across the world. Snow White was actually her final movie appearance.
Oh, wow.
She had been appearing in pictures since 1915. And so I started to think about her more toward the end. Truly, the old lady voice is probably closer to where it was closer to where she really was at that time. Like she was an older actress at the time.
I read that she wasn't giving them the proper voice.
Okay.
And she had to go, they were like, what are we going to do? But you're not scary enough. And she had to go out and she just had to get in character, she said. Okay. So she was just like, I just had to let loose and get real
hunch over.
Graspy.
Okay.
Gravelly.
Gravelly and raspy.
Graspy is I think that's one of the dwarfs. Graspy. You do not want to be near Graspy.
Yeah, no, troublemaker. Okay, who did you recast the queen as?
Helen Mirren.
Solid.
Yeah, I'm very proud of this whole cast.
That's
whole cast. I had to emphasize that because it was terrible. This whole cast, I'm very proud of. Helen Mirren being this, because Helen Mirren, she is pretty. She'd be like, who is the prettiest person? And she's going to kill Kristen Chenoweth for sure. She'll kill her to make sure she's on top. And I feel like she has it in her to give the strong alto voice. She could do it if she needs to.
Yeah.
And she could be a witch.
Okay, that's amazing. I went with Renee Elise Goldsberry. You know her?
My gosh.
She plays...
I know no one.
She's in Hamilton. She plays Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton. She's in what's the show on Peacock? Girls Five Eva.
Yeah, she's like the main girl in Hamilton. Like she's close. She's up there. She's not the wife,
right? But she's the sister. Yeah,
she's the most powerful sister.
And she has and so she has the powerful, elegant, whatever. And then I feel like she could get into the nasty part of the queen.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So, all right, let's see. Let's get into some Seven Dwarfs.
Okay. Did you recast the Prince or the Magic Mirror? You want to do dwarfs first?
Let's go ahead.
Okay, no, do dwarfs. Do dwarfs. I just wanted to make sure we were going to go back to them.
Okay, yes. I didn't do the Huntsman.
Me either.
Okay, all right.
Unimportant.
Yeah, just a dude. Just a guy.
He's a dude for 3 minutes he's in this movie. And I was like, you're not worth it.
No. Okay. So I started with Doc. These are in totally random order. I started with Doc. The original actor's name is Roy Atwell. I recast him. Initially, I thought Kelsey Grammer. Just because you associate him with smartness, blah, blah, blah. But I backed off a little bit because his voice it's a little too husky. You know what I mean? He's got that he's got a deep whatever voice. And I'm like, that's not really fully Doc. So I went with a guy named Peter McKenzie, who is...
I have to look up every single one of these.
I'm sorry, Peter McKenzie.
Keep going.
He's in... my favorite movie that he's in is Major League 3, Back to the Minors. He actually plays a character named Doc, nicknamed Doc, in that movie. He's one of those guys that you get when you want a guy who is, who you need to play a psychiatrist or a guy who's very intelligent, but not like super dorky. He owns it. He owns his intelligence.
Even based on the photo, I don't know this man.
Okay.
Sorry to this man.
Sorry to Peter McKenzie.
Sorry to this man. I do not know you.
He's got tons of roles where like he's sort of the smart guy that that you bring in. So I think he would be great for him. I love him. All right.
You keep going. For Doc. You keep going. I have one person.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. For Dopey was originally a guy named Eddie Collins. I recast him as Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, that's great.
Just because I kind of wanted to see it. Dopey doesn't talk.
No talking. Yeah, there's no talking.
But I could just see Timothy Chalamet with like a shaved head and that weird hat. And I could just kind of picture it. I don't know. Why not? Grumpy was originally played by Kant's, quote, Pinto Colvig.
Yes.
Who also voiced Sleepy and who was also the original voice of Goofy, Pluto from Popeye, and he was the original Bozo the Clown.
There was a character named Bluto in Popeye?
From Popeye. He's the big bad guy with the beard that's always after Popeye. He's Popeye's enemy. And so, yeah.
Pluto and Bluto.
Bluto, Goofy, and he was the original Bozo the Clown. Y'all know Bozo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We know Bozo.
I'm shocked at the people who don't know Bozo the Clown.
Yeah, we're not that spry.
You had to have WGN growing up, right? You had to be able to watch. But Bozo's Grand Prize Game is one of the like all-time top tier games in my book. It's Plinko and Bozo's Grand Prize Game where they had the bucket and there was like 6 buckets and you tossed a ball into a bucket.
Like you're talking like at an arcade?
There are versions of it at an arcade, but on the Bozo show, they would play Bozo's Grand Prize Game.
Okay, I know Bozo, but I've never seen the show.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay.
No, I just know of Bozo the Clown. Like, that's the most popular clown. I mean, Ronald McDonald. But, other than that.
Respect. Put some respect on Ronald McDonald.
Right.
First of all. But, yeah, so they would have kids play this Grand Prize Game, and it was so simple. It was a ping pong ball and 6 buckets. And depending on how far the farthest bucket determined your prize. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
It's so simple, but it's such a great game. It's so much fun. Anyway, super hard. Oh, yeah, okay. Until I found out that Pinto Colvig voiced multiple characters, I was going to go for a guy, for Grumpy, who has... I felt like he's lived through and kind of come out on the other side of both the life of grumpiness and an aversion to hand washing. I was going with Zeke Tucker. I was going to put you in the grumpy role.
Oh, that's awesome.
But to honor the original, I'm going to cast Sleepy and Grumpy, one guy, and I'm going with Hank Azaria. You know Hank Azaria? You know him when you see him. He was in Mystery Men. He does a million voices on The Simpsons, including like
Whitney
Mo.
loves Mystery Men.
And honestly, he could do all 7. He could be, he's done.
Yeah, Hank Azaria. I know that guy.
He's great. He could do all 7.
All kinds of Simpsons voices, right?
Yeah, tons and tons and tons. And more as the years went on. Sneezy was originally a guy named Billy Gilbert. I've recast him as Jim Cummings, who is one of my favorite voice actors of all time.
Yes.
He is the voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. And Tigger. And Tigger too.
That's right. And so you go... The more Disney stuff you watch, you learn his voice. Like he's in everything. Cummings, yeah. My favorite voice of his all time was Darkwing Duck.
Oh, yeah.
I love Darkwing Duck when it came out, and that was Jim Cummings. And so I thought, I want to hear him sneeze, right? Like I can hear his voice. He's got kind of a...
I hear the actor who played... Okay, so who played Sneezy to begin with?
Billy Gilbert.
Okay, Billy Gilbert found out there was going to be a dwarf named Sneezy and called Walt Disney and said, give me this job.
Really?
Yes, and he got it.
He's like, you got to hear me sneeze, bro.
Yeah. He was like, I think he had like a gag where he would do stuff like that. And he was like, this is perfect. Like, there's no reason I shouldn't have this. And that's how he got Sneezy's voice.
Funny. Yeah. Happy was originally played by Otis Harlan.
Oh, I love Happy. My favorite dwarf.
Okay. I don't think I have a favorite dwarf.
You have a favorite dwarf?
I guess not. I don't know. Maybe
the worldwide consensus is that Grumpy is the favorite dwarf, okay. And then Dopey right after that, because everyone loves an angry person, comedically angry person. Everyone loves it, and then everyone loves the stupid guy.
And Grumpy is the only dwarf with like a character arc. Right, like he's, he gets the kiss.
He gets a little bit of bashful later on.
He, kind of turns around and stops being like sour on Snow White. So he has a character arc. Happy was originally played by Otis Harlan. I recast him as Phil Lamar. He's done tons of voices, but he's been in stuff himself. He was in the original cast of Mad TV. I don't know if that helps.
Might know that. I really might know that.
He has played like Green Lantern, the Jon Stewart version of Green Lantern. I just think he would be great as
I do
Happy.
not know him. I don't know his face, but I did love some Mad TV. I don't think I was allowed to watch it, but that was one of those shows I snuck and watched when my parents were asleep.
You know, when you're older and you're like, oh, I can look this up on YouTube now.
Yeah. Like, yes, exactly.
Okay. Bashful was a guy named Scotty Mattraw, Mattraw. I recast him. First of all, I need to say it is an absolute shame that Tim Conway died in 2019 because he is the perfect Bashful. Okay. Right. In the modern age, but so had to recast him because he's dead. So, but I went with Bill Murray. I thought, Bill Murray would be a really solid Bashful.
Fantastic.
That's kind of his whole shtick is that, you know,
I would put Bill Murray on almost any of these. I think, I don't know if he could do, Grumpy too well, but almost all the others I go, Bill Murray's awesome.
Just thinking since I didn't do it, but now I'm thinking of it. I feel like Seth MacFarlane could do good on all of them.
He could do several of them.
He does so many.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good voice actors, dude. I would love to get into that world. I would love to do some voice acting. It just sounds like so much fun.
Your first one, they're going to be like, okay, break out a transatlantic accent. And you're going to go, well, okay.
I'm just going to put on my bowler hat and leave, you know, just, all right. And I think that's all Seven Dwarfs, right? So which one did you do?
I have, I'm saying I did all the dwarfs. It is one voice person. Actor.
Oh.
And you've already mentioned him. It is Jim Cummings.
Okay.
100% Jim Cummings would do all of them. Just because he is exceptional. He is one of the most well-noted voice actors. He has so much on his plate. And the fact that he can do a wide range of things, I was like, just hire one guy, Jim Cummings, because I was thinking, who are some of these voice actors I could go with? Jim Cummings is he's the one for all of the dwarfs for me.
I think you're probably in real life, you're probably exactly.
I was like, just hire one guy. There's not the most speaking roles for all of these.
One guy doesn't talk. One guy just mostly sneezes, right? Like there's not that much of a load.
It's like you mostly have Doc and Grumpy. And if you can get those down, the rest you can make noises.
Right. And Doc, you just do your normal voice.
Exactly.
Grumpy, you can do Grumpy. That's fine. Especially Jim Cummings could do Grumpy.
Exactly.
No problem.
Exactly. So he is definitely all of the dwarfs for me.
That's really funny. That's great. Okay. Let's see. Who else do we have? The Prince. Who you got for the Prince?
Okay. Now, Whitney mentioned the Prince, my voice actor for the Prince, Seth MacFarlane. Because he can sing. He's a crooner.
Yeah.
And he can do like a classic. I know he's got to be able to do that accent.
I guarantee.
Transatlantic, I'm sure he can do that accent. So, yes, Seth MacFarlane, I feel so confident that he could be the voice actor for the Prince.
He could easily be very princely. I can hear that. I mean, that's
and he has that first belting note where the Prince gets to sing, and I'm like, that's as soon as he started singing, I was like, that's going to be Seth MacFarlane for me.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I went with my guy's a little younger than yours, but still well established as both an actor and a singer. I went with Zac Efron for the Prince.
Yes, that's good. I forgot. I did recast one dwarf just now as we were talking.
Okay,
and it was is John Rhys Davies. Okay, so Gimli as Grumpy,
as Grumpy.
For sure. If you did all of the other actors as Jim Cummings, but then John Rhys Davies it's Rhys, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. John Rhys. I've just never said his name out loud. Then him as Grumpy. I think you got a full cast.
You give me your name, Horsemaster, I shall give you mine. Yeah,
perfect.
Not perfect. I wish that his. Do you know that he was the voice of Treebeard in the Lord of the Rings?
No.
And they ran his voice through a series of wooden tunnels that they made.
Oh my gosh!
To make it sound wooden.
Okay, I cannot wait until we cover Lord of the Rings because the fandom goes so deep.
Yeah,
I may read all the books. He would be fantastic as Grumpy.
He would. He's great. Okay,
And then the magic mirror.
Oh, and then the magic mirror. Okay. Who do you have?
Okay.
Let me say mine first because mine's stupid.
Please go.
And yours is probably real.
Okay.
Mine, I just thought, I don't know the guy's name, and y'all might be a little too young for this. Did y'all watch Power Rangers?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to.
Mine, I was just like, you know what? You weren't allowed to watch Power Rangers?
Okay, I'm sneaking off watching Mad TV and Three's Company. And I'm not, and like my mom's like, I don't like Power Rangers. You can't watch it. And that was probably the full extent of why I couldn't.
Okay. I just went, why not? Let's just use the guy, just to pop people, the guy who was the voice of the disembodied whatever in Power Rangers that would like tell them their assignments and stuff. I can't even remember his name. It's like Zoltar or something.
Voice actor. Okay, I'm trying to look it up.
He wasn't,
Zoltar.
like his face was on, it's not literally Zoltar.
Yeah, I'm looking up Power Rangers.
His face was on the show, but he was just like a head in kind of a machine. He was a projection. He was like the Charlie to their angels of the Power Rangers. But I have no idea what the guy's name is. Or his character.
Is it Commander or General Shaw?
Maybe.
Okay, well that's.
I
can't even pronounce this man's name.
Like Power Rangers was a thing that I didn't watch it. It was just, it came on after what I did watch.
Commander Crayfish? I don't know. I hope that's not it. Surely that wouldn't be their command. I don't know.
Think so.
Okay,
anyway.
But the commander on Power Rangers.
Yeah, the voice from Power Rangers. Yeah.
Okay, if you know it, someone please tell us.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the perfect pick. There's no way that anyone could do better than Tim Curry.
Oh, but
is he dead? Did he die?
I think, hold on.
Oh no.
Is Tim Curry alive? He's 76. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He's perfect. Tim Curry. I was really afraid he died. Tim Curry, who, okay, so is he the main guy on Clue?
Yeah, he's the butler on Clue.
He's the butler on Clue.
Or yes. He's Wadsworth.
I remember being terrified because I think it's not Sleeping Beauty. It's, what is the other movie that he played in? It is, oh, come on. Beauty and the Beast. I think it's 2. Beauty and the Beast 2, or there's a Christmas one where he is a pipe organ.
Oh, okay.
Like as soon as I saw that, I went, that's the most perfect voice that could ever be. So Tim Curry as a terrifying mirror is absolutely what I think it should be.
He's one of my all-time favorite actors. I mean, he's amazing in literally everything that he's ever been in.
I've never seen anything that I didn't like him in.
He's just magnetic. Like as an actor, he's great. And actually Clue, which we will certainly do at some point.
Perfect, yeah.
Clue being one of my favorite movies, has 2 of my all-time favorite actors, Tim Curry and Michael McKean. Both of mine, like absolute top tier for me. I got to look up Michael McKean. He's the guy that plays Mr. Green in Clue. He's also the lead singer of Spinal Tap, which is another one of my favorite movies. But anyway, Tim Curry, great. Yes.
Michael McKean's awesome.
So like I thought, okay, so he had a major stroke in 2012. This is what I was looking up. Tim Curry had a stroke in 2012 and they thought he was going to die. And so he's been in a wheelchair since, and now he mostly does voice acting. So that's what, my brain had told me that he died.
Right.
Because it was like so close. They're like, well, we're about to lose Tim Curry.
Everything, like it's getting to that point though where, I'm not getting old by any means, but I'm getting to that point where a lot of my favorite actors when I was younger are just passing. The other day, I feel like I had a fever dream. And I woke up, I didn't have a dream about this person, but I woke up and I went, did the Queen of England die? And I had to Google it. I had to Google it because I feel like all of the actors or big people, I'm just like, they're starting to die.
Okay.
And I had to Google if the Queen died.
That was a very large deal when the Queen died.
Yes, okay, I get it. I get that. But you know what? Everybody's dealing with something. So it might not have been the queen of another nation, might not have been my number one thing for the time. But I went, she didn't die. I was like, there's no way she died. And I looked back and I went, oh my gosh. I was like, the Queen of England died and I have forgotten about it, which says a lot more about me.
That's great.
It was awful.
That's going to wrap it up for the recast and our coverage of the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But we're not finished yet. We are making some candy apples. So we're going to take a break and go make and then come back and try and talk about how we made some delicious candy apples.
Fantastic.
Poison optional.
Slide up to the snack bar.
All right, gang, we're back with part B of the show. Part C is the recast part B, kind of.
I don't know.
Anyway, we're back. Like it or not, here we are. And we've got our, if you're watching on video, you can see we've got in front of us our candy apples. I'm super impressed with the way they came out.
Yeah.
We've learned a little bit of something, and we're going to talk about how we made them and what we would do differently probably next time. But here's kind of how it works. First of all, we chose candy apple because that is the weapon of choice for for the Quitch in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And these are non-poisonous apples. Although, the thing about like apples have cyanide in the seeds, that like if you ate enough apple seeds, it would kill you because they have a small amount of cyanide.
I've never heard that.
Really? So yeah, literally.
How many apple seeds are you having to eat to get cyanide poisoning?
I think it would be an awful lot.
I'm going to have to research it.
Not any amount that anybody would ever willingly do.
Yeah.
You'd have to like grind them up into a fine powder and have to like I think it's that level.
Yeah,
it's not even like if you ate 20 apples in a day. I mean, it's way more than that. It's like so much. But anyway, trace amounts of cyanide in apple seeds. But so I did a little research on candy apples, and I wasn't sure whether to call them candy apples or candied apples. Do y'all go candy apples?
Candy apples. There's no IED in mine.
I could see the IED.
Because I would think candied apples, right? Candy, because when you call something candied if you put basically a candy shell around it. So I'm like, why are these not candied apples? But apparently it's just candy apples. Anyway, and in the UK, they're often called toffee apples instead, which I would think of.
I'd want actual toffee on it, which caramel. Sounds great.
Yeah,
an actual toffee apple. Yeah, I wouldn't have called this a toffee apple.
Yeah, though. but in the UK they're called toffee apples. But anyway,
but then we formed a new nation and started calling things what they should be called. So I'm just kidding. I love my people from the UK.
They have two different origins. There's an origin for candy apples in the US, and there's an origin for toffee apples in the UK. Candy apples in the U.S. apparently trace their origins back to Newark, New Jersey, where a candy maker named William Kolb dipped some apples in a red cinnamon candy mix and put them in his window just as a display. He wasn't trying to make anything to eat. He was trying to have a cool display. As a graphic guy, you can appreciate that. But people were like, I want to try those. So he ended up selling them, and they became a regular treat, and thus the candy apple was born. Newark, New Jersey. Toffee apples, so-called in the UK, appear as early as 1890s London. And I'm going to read a snippet from the July 14th, 1896 Yorkshire Evening Post.
Man.
Your boy did a little research.
We're going way back.
This is from 1896, warning of the apparent dangers of candy/toffee apples. Here we go.
Okay.
Toffee apples are the latest luxury of London youth. They are said to consist of sour apples dipped in toffee, and the mixture of bitter and sweet is declared to be toothsome to a high degree. That's in quotes. Toothsome to a high degree. Charles Pepper had a farthing given him.
Had a farthing given him.
Yes, had a farthing given him and bought a toffee apple. He was taken ill and died. The doctor,
cyanide.
The doctor who was called in said it was acute gastroenteritis set up by the toffee apple.
Oh no!
So immediately they were like, "This is drugs." Like in the 1890s in London, when I think they're still doing casual heroin at that point. I think
they thought like, this apple did
don't
it.
do the candy apples. Like no
this
way.
This man just. What is it? Snorted a row, and then he ate a candy apple, and there's like, gotta be, has to be the candy apple.
Yes,
because it's so toothsome.
Oh my gosh, very toothsome.
Also, speaking of, you have to eat 150 to several thousand apple seeds to get it, and if you ingest an apple seed, just by itself, it'll just pass through. You're good to go. It's just passing on through. You have to fully chew them or crush them up, and it takes 150 to 1,000, like thousands. So, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised anyone has ever even considered cyanide poisoning from this. So it's nearly unlikely.
I wonder, if you could grind them up, which would serve the purpose of, the same thing as if you chewed them, right? It would release the cyanide. How many it would take to make like a powder out of them that you could put in somebody's something. You know what I mean? Like a powder that you could be, let me make you a protein shake. And it's really, ground up, apple seeds.
Like it's got to be substantial. If you grind up let's say 1,000 seeds, because it said 150 to 1,000.
Right. So I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah. 1,000 apple seeds. This is what the witch did. All of the things she was actually doing, she was just grinding up thousands of apple seeds to make cyanide poisoning.
The scream of a whatever, the scream of a hag. Is that what it was?
I think the scream of a hag. Is that what made her hair white? That's what made her hair white. And I think so, because I was like, why is the scream of an old hag what made her hair white? Our producer Whitney
I think it was fright made her hair white. Something about a scream of fright. Is that
check it for
There
us.
was a lot of casual rhyming in this movie.
Yeah, out of the blue. Snow White would just randomly do something. I was like, oh, we're in a rhyme now.
Yeah.
And then she would just...
It was inconsistent.
Yeah, she would gradually get out of it again.
Yeah, it was weird. And certain characters did, certain characters didn't. I was like, I'm not fully feeling this pattern here.
I'm not sure if Grumpy ever rhymed, but I just feel like he doesn't have time for it. He's like, no, I've done the woodworking on all of these animals, every step. I did all those owls, and he's like, I don't have time to rhyme.
Yeah, I made this fish flute, and you're trying to get me to rhyme.
Fish flute. It was.
He's like
several ducks as guitars or little, I don't know, stringed
like
instruments.
Upright bass, upright bass goose or whatever.
Bass goose.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so here's what we did to make these candy apples. We went with the Martha Stewart recipe because you kind of can't go wrong there. I've always found her recipes to be trustworthy, and she's like one of the upper names in that.
Yes, of course.
I don't know if Gordon Ramsay would have done it any different, but
right. There are a few that I'm just like, that's going to be too much.
Yeah.
And this is like bare bones.
Typically, that's what I would assume with Martha Stewart. Like if there's extra to do, she's kind of going to do it.
Yeah.
She's going to use the all natural version of every single thing. And it's like, no, you need to scrape the vanilla out of the bean, you know?
Right.
And so I was surprised by the simplicity of the recipe, given that it was hers, you know, I assume if I go to like, you know, joeschmocandyApples.com, they're going to give me the simplest, cheapest recipe. But Martha's was very, very simple as well. All it is, here are the ingredients you need. Ready? You need sugar. You need like two cups of sugar, just regular plain old, you know, sugar will do. You need a like 3/4 of a cup of water. You need a thing of Caro or light corn syrup.
Half
whatever.
or a fourth of a cup?
It's half a cup of corn syrup. And optionally, you want some red food coloring. We went with Granny Smith apples, which are naturally green, but are supposed to have kind of the best flavor. Right. So I wanted the red look of the candied apples,
of course.
So we went.
How many do you think this would yield? Because we did 3, but there was plenty left in the pot.
And our apples are big. These are not like normal. These are like I couldn't find like normal size apples. They were like a little too small or massive,
like New York size apples.
It is supposed to. It's supposed to yield 6 medium apples or 12 lady apples. So, and I think that would have worked with
lady apples,
like smaller apples.
Is that what they're called?
Apparently, I don't know. That's what the recipe says. I don't know. That might not be appropriate anymore. I don't know.
Right.
But so all you do is you line like a baking sheet or something with parchment paper. I didn't have a parchment paper on hand, so we used nonstick grill foil. It worked like a charm.
It was great. It didn't even try to stick to it.
Yeah. And so what Martha says is that you either butter the parchment, or I assume that like cooking oil would work just fine. You know, Pam kind of spray. And then in a saucepan, you combine the sugar, the water, the corn syrup, and the food coloring. All that. Bring it to a boil over high heat. And then you reduce the heat to medium high, although we on my stove had to keep it pretty high because the temperature wasn't rising up high enough. So you boil it until the temperature reaches between 300 and 310 degrees, which is known as hard crack stage. So that comes after. It starts with marijuana, right? And then you move on, and eventually you reach hard crack stage.
Hard crack probably meaning the shell.
Yeah.
But don't you... I know nothing about drugs. I'm not even going to say anything about that. But, you know, like a hard crack stage, I just feel like there's a different name for it. But whatever, hard crack stage is where you have to reach.
If you're cooking something up, there maybe should be a different phrase than hard crack
Probably
stage.
so.
I don't even know why that would. I guess that means at that temperature, is
the next one like soft meth?
Right.
Hard crack, and then you get soft meth, which is just a little bit too hard for the teeth.
Yeah, right. And it just rots them immediately. The soft meth stage, you don't want that because
you don't. It's like the poison has set in too deeply at that point.
It just makes me think of those billboards that you see. It's like meth. This is what happens.
This is what happens. It just has apples, and people with no teeth
candy apple
don't reach the soft meth stage.
Right. All this time they were just talking about candy apples and being dangerous. The toothsome, they're so toothsome.
They're so toothsome. This is what happened to that man.
Okay, so while that stuff is cooking, you just pop a stick of some kind into the apple. We literally, I thought it might have like dowel rods or something like that, but we didn't. So we used chopsticks, literally chopsticks.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, and so when the mixture reaches 300 to 310 degrees, you pull it off the heat so that it can start to cool down. Here is where we learned something.
Yes,
because if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you you could see the 3 apples in front of us. Mine and Zeke's, we did ours immediately because the recipe says working quickly, dip apples in a sugar mixture.
Yeah, you don't want it to harden. So we jumped at it.
So we're like, this has got to happen. But basically, it was still boiling while we were, to a degree, while we were dipping our apples. And so we ended up getting, instead of a fully smooth coat, we have some bubbles.
Which looks poisonous. For the grand scheme, like for the look of it, you could go with this.
Yes, our apples look more evil. Whitney's had time to cool off just a little bit. And so she has some tiny, tiny bubbles in hers, but a very, very overall smooth looking,
sheer perfection,
beautiful looking apple. I could have maybe gone with a little more. I wonder if I'd gone with a little bit more food coloring. Ours kind of have a pleasant pink look at this point,
right.
But the ones I'm used to seeing are like bright red, like Solo Cup colored.
I feel like so Martha Stewart didn't put any food coloring, right?
No, she didn't.
I feel like I like that style. Like we wanted to go iconic. You got to go iconic with the reddest you can get red. But I feel like I might want to go with like the clear gel coat. Accentuate the apple.
I feel like the ones we've seen that are more red than that they have to have something else in them.
Maybe it's just a concentration of whatever. And I think maybe it's also that they might be over red apples as opposed to green apples.
Right.
There's more color you have to overcome if you're over the green
the amount of sugar, though, when you're going with caramel apples, toffee apples, candy apples, whatever you want to call them, I think that Granny Smith is necessity.
Yeah, you want the taste. You want the tartness.
You do.
In combined with it. So you get tart, sweet, and crunch all in the first bite. You have never had a candy apple.
This is my first time. This is a taste test right here. I will try. I'll try to tell you if I prefer it to caramel apples because I'm a huge caramel apple fan. It is one of my favorite go-to items at Disney, at Halloween, whatever time.
Yeah. So once you dip the apples, you kind of coat them as much as you can, swirl them around, and then as close to the top as you can swirl it, great. Then you set them to the side on your greased baking sheet or your parchment paper or whatever, and let them cool. And then that's it. It's that easy.
Yeah, it was very simple. It was very simple.
So simple. And then your leftover mess is what I got to figure out. How I'm going to clean the pan. I guess I don't know. I don't know if I just have to reboil it. And I
wonder if while it's hot, you just try to take a spatula and get a heat resistant spatula because we lost.
Yes.
What did we lose?
I lost a teaspoon, a plastic teaspoon measure.
Yeah. So be careful. It's got to be heat resistant, but I wonder if you could get a heat resistant spatula, try to get all of that out of there real quick. I don't know, into something that you can throw away.
Right. And so,
because I do not envy what you're about to have to clean up.
Yeah. And I don't think you want it in your drain either.
No. That is going to mess some stuff up if you put it in your drain.
Yeah. So you don't want that. But so now we have these lovely candy apples and we're about to try them. Let's see. Whitney, we'll go ahead and Zeke is going to bring yours to you or let you reach to it.
Yeah, we can reach it.
There we go. Look at that. Good. Thank God for the chopstick.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. I guess we'll do a crunch. We'll go into the thing, but I'm very excited. My hope is that with a good candy apple, you really want it. You really want to be nervous. A little bit afraid that you're going to break a tooth. That's what I'm.
Oh yeah. No, do it. Come on.
ASMR. Listen.
Oh, that is nice. That is Whitney's nails on the apple. Mm-hmm. Oh
great.
Man.
All right. Okay. So shall we just go? Go for it. Trigger warning.
Do we just go right into it?
If you're sensitive to sound, you're about to get the crunch. But
crunch.
Dig into the side. Here we go. See, that's what you got to push through it. You can.
We don't have dental insurance.
That's awesome.
Right? Amazing.
Far exceeds expectations.
I'm going for it. Whitney, go ahead. Do it in the mic. Do it in the mic.
I don't think I can.
You got this.
No, you can.
You. Yeah. Just break through.
Come on. She said.
My parents paid a lot of money for my teeth.
They're not going to break. They're not going to break.
You can bite into mine if you'd like.
Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, once the first bite is in, the rest of it's easy.
Okay, first initial response. I didn't really think about the fact that this is just a different form of sugar, like caramel.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, okay. It has a very similar taste, but a crunch that makes this maybe more appetizing. Come on, Whit.
You can do it. You got it.
No, there's no way. Here, let me bite it first.
I'll work.
Okay. Have you taken your bite?
Once you get, no, I haven't done mine yet. But once you get the first one's when you think, okay, my tooth is going to break. But then it's just chipping at the sides of that one. You're not usually taking fresh bites. You know what I mean?
Such a fan of candy apples.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. My life changed last week. Your life changed this week.
What did we do last week?
We did Nacho Libre and chips, homemade chips.
Changed our lives with chips. We have made those chips 2 times this week already. Once. Yeah. Okay, once, but it was vital.
Yeah, it was amazing. All right, I'm going to go for mine. Can't open my mouth big enough. My problem is the apple's too big.
I had to go to the top at like a weird angle.
Right, yeah, here we go.
Oh, Rob. That was delightful to hear. Man, that's good. Come on. Okay, go at an angle. Yeah, there's that angle.
That's it.
You got it. You got it. You're not on film. No one's gonna see it.
That's true. Only we get.
Nope. I don't know.
Here, bite out of this. You just want to bite out of this one?
If this wasn't a glass plate.
Okay, this is me again.
These are amazing.
So fulfilling.
Man. Wow.
That's incredible. Here, bite out of the corner of mine.
I want to eat mine. I want mine to be the
one. Come on.
You just have to believe in yourself. Honestly, it's like you just have to have faith that it's not going to break your teeth.
I don't have that faith.
Oh, come on, Whitney, you got this. Years of.
We want to hear it. It can't be that hard. Okay, so here's the thing. We did ours when it was still boiling. Maybe it made ours maybe it made ours just a little bit thinner. Maybe ours was more palpable.
I don't think so. I think Whitney's just scared.
Come on.
You got this. Yep.
Yeah.
There it goes.
No, it's just the sugar. You got no apple. Okay, but now it's cracked. Now it's cracked.
Yeah. You just
hit it a little. Hit it a little and then bite into that.
It is a little caramely.
You just did like a...
Yeah, it has the same flavor. It's like a less creamy caramel apple.
Yeah, it is technically a caramel.
Right.
It is like the
there
candy itself is technically
caramel.
Oh, caramel, yeah.
I prefer caramel, I think. But
I do too. I do too, but because I like the soft. But if there was a way to not shatter every tooth I've ever had and do an apple with the caramel on the inside and then a small candy coating on the outside.
Oh, wow.
Man.
You might just change the game there.
Maybe we should try that. Because I'm impressed.
I don't know because the caramel would melt. It'd have to be really...
Wow, that's amazing. I wonder what people... I know some people are bothered by chewing sounds and stuff like that.
Sorry.
So I guess they just not listen.
bad.
I'll try and warn people when there's going to be like mouth sounds or whatever, but it's impossible
Beware
not to do
mouth
with these.
sounds.
Beware the mouth sounds from Cinema Snack Bar.
Oh, man. Okay, another one. Here goes another bite. I'm just infatuated.
The sound is incredible.
My word. That's some punchy stuff.
You got... It was so good it gave you a different accent.
That's some crunchy stuff.
It moved you to southern Louisiana. You got a little candy breakage on your... Yeah, there you go. And you would think... I'm actually surprised that there's not more candy breakage. You would think that it would kind of just shatter.
It sticks together.
But it really does stay...
And we didn't do anything special. So this is... Oh. You're getting some good candy. And it breaks on the apple, but it's not falling apart.
Right, yeah.
So it looks awesome while you eat it.
Yeah. It kind of looks like when ice, a big chunk of ice, it just kind of splinters, but it doesn't break. It's amazing. I'm going to save mine so I can keep talking.
I've eaten half of that apple already.
This is why I love these. They're just,
That's fantastic. The texture alone, like if it had no flavor.
Yeah.
Texture alone, it was not sugar. It was just, I don't know, glass on the outside of this. Yeah. It is fantastic. The texture alone of that is...
And I assume if you wanted to do some odd flavoring or additional flavoring in the candy, you could do it. If you could go... Because I read the thing about the guy's original thing being cinnamon candy, and I went, like a cinnamon candy
especially
apple.
Keep it red like this.
Yeah.
Do cinnamon... Oh, man.
Yeah, that could be...
We're going to have to try
incredible.
that.
So variations may come, next... You could do I don't know, vanilla? Would that be good? I know there's some natural vanilla flavoring in the corn syrup. Or probably not natural.
What about that?
Cherry would be good.
Cherry would be
okay. You can't do something that's you have to do something that pairs well with apple. Obviously, something that pairs well with sour. So cherry would be good. I feel like one of my favorite flavors, yours too, I think, Whitney, is the almond flavor. I don't think that's for this.
No.
Almond icing, game changer.
Yeah.
So if you ever get the chance to try that, game changer.
You could do do they have cranberry? Can you do cranberry flavoring? Cranberry apple would be awesome. Grape, I feel like would be good if you've ever done
anything
grape.
anything strong like that that's not too sweet, because you can't do cake flavor. Cake batter. Actually, I don't know. Cake batter is one of my favorite things. I feel like it's got to be something that's pungent with the apple flavor.
Yeah. Anyway, that would be awesome. So another big success here on Cinema Snack Bar with the candy apples. We hope you guys will try it at home. And maybe on the website we can post the actual recipe, or at least a link to Martha Stewart's recipe. And if you go on Instagram, make sure and follow us at Cinema Snack Bar. You can see kind of our video version of, we'll have it on Reels, how we made everything and kind of our process. And you can see my sad little... teaspoon measure after it got melted,
nearly decapitated.
Not even melted. I didn't leave it in the pan. It was just melted from the
sheer heat of the candy.
Of the mixture. Yeah, the candy itself. I was just
try
kind of
these are going to be too.
Yeah,
we've got some candy pieces left over.
Just some candy drippings.
No, it's not. It's not inedible.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sugar.
Yeah, not much taste
great.
to it at all. Okay. That's going to do it for another episode of Cinema Snack Bar. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. Thank you so much for your support. Next week, we have our first ever listener-suggested show. We can't wait to bring it to you and see what you guys have come up with. We're going to confer on it right now after we finish recording. And next week, we'll bring you the first listener-suggested show, and we'll see what kind of foods we get into next week on Cinema Snack Bar. We'll see you next week on Cinema Snack Bar. Until then, I'm Rob.
I'm Zeke. The end.
All right. I don't even know if this is appropriate for the show.
Okay.
Okay. But I saw it and it kind of blew my mind.
Okay.
And so I wanted to talk about it. In your research of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, did you see anything about the all black version of Snow White and Seven Dwarfs that is, like, depending on who you ask, one of the most racist films of all time?
Was it not produced by people of color? It was not produced by any of our
It was
black friends.
Produced by Leon Schlesinger.
Schlesinger doesn't sound like a person of color.
Leon Schlesinger.
Okay.
Who is the guy that made all the Looney Tunes. He was the head of Warner Brothers Animation, who made Merry Melodies and all the Bugs Bunny stuff, right? And so they famously have a collection of what they call the censored 11, which were 11 films or short films that they made in their time that have since been found to be, like, super inappropriate because they played on certain stereotypes,
right?
That
are just far gone by now.
Blackface and stuff like that, which was still happening at the time in movies and that kind of stuff. But just people just went, this is not right. So
tell me it's not called Snow Black.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it worse than that?
Yes, it is called Coal Black. And hold on, Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs. Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh no.
Okay. And I hope I'm not being offensive by even just saying some of these things, but that was the name of it. And so it is, the stylistic portrayal of the characters is an example of, and I'm just saying this, Wikipedia says this, please know, this is an offensive word to me too. There's an example of darky iconography, which is that depiction of African-Americans, and people with dark skin, where it was like caricatured and certain assumptions were made about, their lifestyles and their social status and blah, 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 blah. Right. So without getting into a lot of it, I did want to read you one paragraph. This is one paragraph from the Wikipedia article.
That offends us all. I assume it's going to offend us all.
It's funny because it has defenders. The movie itself has defenders who are like, I guess basically the argument is it's not that bad, but it's basically.
It's like everyone's papa.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's not that bad. The war wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It was.
So it's on YouTube. You can look it up. I watched a few minutes of it. And it's like, I can see how people could try and make an argument that it wasn't bad because it did have a mostly black cast. It was produced in conjunction with.
So the voice actors were black voice actors.
Most of the voice actors were black actors, except for Mel Blanc, who was the voice of Bugs Bunny, and he did several others because he was one of the. There was basically like a rule at Warner Brothers Animation at the time that like he had to do like all the voices. It was crazy. They were like, we have one voice guy, and it's Mel Blanc. So he did some of them, but a lot of them were done by black actors, and it was done. The origin of the movie itself was done when Leon Schlesinger, whose name I cannot say, I don't even know how it's supposed to be said, but anyway, he went to like a jazz club, and there was an all black review there, and they started having a conversation about how come there's no animated movies with black characters. That's how it actually started.
Okay, so like in theory, it's a good idea.
Yes, in theory, it was like he was like, I want to make a
representation for black voice actors, for black people in cartoons.
Yes, but now when you look at it,
you go, nope.
You just go, wow. And so it's a thing where like not having been alive in 1943 when this was made, I guess that's just the way things were. And so at the time, even if, I don't know if it was a thing where like, it's better to have something offensive or that maybe that, you know, white people are not seeing as offensive, but maybe we are offended by it.
Okay.
But at least we have something out there and it's making us some money.
Right.
I have no idea. Okay. I'm complete ignorant on this. Okay.
Right.
But so let me just read you this is from one of the sections of Wikipedia on the thing. Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs is one of the censored 11 Warner Brothers cartoons produced at the height of the golden age of Hollywood animation based on its unflattering and stereotypical use of this iconography. I'm not going to say the word again. Because it was produced in America during World War II, there is also anti-Japanese sentiment. The firm Murder Inc. in the film advertises that it does not charge to kill, and it uses a slur for Japanese people. The same basic stereotypical elements present in the earlier censored 11 films are also present in Coal Black. Now, in the movie, her name is not Coal Black. Her name is So White. That's
So
her
White?
name is So White. Yes, but they were afraid that was too close to the original, so they changed it to Coal Black for just the title alone, not the character's name. Okay. With more detail, let's say, the same stereotypical elements present in the earlier censored 11 films are also present in Coal Black, depicted with more detail and made to conform to Clampett's wacky directorial style. In Racism in American Popular Media, this is a book, Benkin and Smithers assert, quote, "The racism in Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs is unparalleled in cartoon history. This short throws virtually every black stereotype into the mix, beginning with the mammy character who, while in shadow, is clearly a large black woman with a distinct, quote, negroid voice. The child is a big-cheeked, I don't even know if I could say these words.
I'm not sure you can either. It just sounds bad.
It's like, is this fine to read off Wikipedia? I have no idea. With a bow in her hair, the prince is a similarly caricatured black man. He has straightened hair, wears a white zoot suit and a monocle, and has gold teeth. His two front teeth are dominoes.
Oh my gosh.
So White is portrayed as a hypersexual, big-bottomed, younger black woman with perky bosoms and revealing clothing. She is less representative of blackface characters and instead represents the black Jezebel or whore, voluptuous, lascivious, and sexually available.
Well, see, earlier I talked about how Adolf Hitler's one of his top three favorite films was Snow White. I feel like he just never saw Coal Black.
By 1943, he had other things that he was worrying about.
Yeah. I still feel like he would have dropped some of those to watch this, though. So I'm just like, this seems like right up his alley.
Oh, man.
I Googled one of the words. We can't say it.
Oh, okay. So
right.
we apologize.
I'm going to need to know. I'll blank it out.
Well, that's a terrible movie. And we will not be reviewing that one.
We will not. Just go ahead and save it. Okay. You can review that one and send it to us if you like. We probably will not pay attention to that one either. I just could not believe I went.
That's awful.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
I just get one of those things.
Does it say what the other 10 of the 11? It's probably not even. It's not even worth mentioning. Some of them are. Okay.
Oh,
so
really?
do that research yourself. There are 11 films, or don't. Don't. As a stand, just take a stand and don't research the 11 films we're not allowed to watch by Warner Brothers alone. Right?
Yes.
It's all Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Warner Brothers.
There we go. Shame.